Lonely Attack on a Different World, web novel, Chapter 8. Is touching yes or no? You are the problem. Day 8, The Cave. During breakfast, the long and heavy story continued. If they skipped bitching, grumbling, and bad-mouthing, the story could proceed a lot faster. But it looks like, for the geeks, this was the main point. The story of being summoned to another world and the week filled with fighting monsters and survival life was mostly about bad-mouthing the other classmates. Did you really have to go to another world to do that? While eating breakfast, they were still bitching. Continued to tell their story. Of course, it goes without saying that we are having mushrooms. So when we told them that high-level skills can't be used until you saved up enough SP and activate them, around the third day, they suddenly began raising their levels. Yeah, aiming only for weak goblins nearby. Like in an RPG, not going far from base and grinding weak monsters near the starting location. I think I found the culprit. There's no need for deduction or any cool montage showcasing the thought process. They really don't do any good. Looks like the shinobi investigated, erasing presents and stalking them. Apparently, stalking dudes wasn't much fun. Isn't that great? If it was fun, you would have been done, in more ways than one. It seemed that they, the wannabe delinquents, unaware of being eavesdropped, kept talking about nothing but lewd stuff and distribution of the girls after brainwashing. Are they idiots? Are they some kind of crappy movie villains, blabbering about your plans right when someone is eavesdropping on you? I see, so forced harem is their aim, huh? Or rather, despite bullying the geeks for being geeks, aren't they pretty geeky themselves? Well, they are only wannabes after all. Of course, the geeks started working on countermeasures. After they told the president about the dangers of puppetry and charm, as well as the plans of the idiots, she seems to have resolved herself, and also began actively raising her level. By the way, it seems that the president is a real cheat. While keeping things running, they built the plan, and, while making preparations, raised levels. On the 5th day after coming to this world, the puppetry finally manifested. They kept meticulously killing level 1 to 2 goblins until level 15 when they got enough points. For shinobi that kept observing them all this time, it was surely a sight to behold, or maybe not. So firm, so tenacious, such admirable wannabe delinquents. Apparently, they kept laboriously fighting while leaving the last hits to the owner of the charm or puppetry. As shinobi said, it was a true treasure of boredom. Sweet. On that day, they again screamed stuff like, "I'll make a harem when I get back," or "We're having an orgy today," or "Yeah!" while keeping on killing level 1 goblins. And finally, charm manifested as well. Such pure, serious, and diligent wannabe delinquents. At this point, isn't it fine to drop the delinquent part already and just leave them as wannabes? You guys aren't suited to be delinquents. Then, by, well, a pure coincidence, the first beauty of our school, the president, appeared inside an empty forest without a single soul around, all by herself. That moment, the wannabes smiled, seemingly overjoyed from the bottom of their hearts, which felt just as pleasant as a field of blossoming rafflesias. Grinning, they laughed to each other, and approaching the president, looked into her eyes with disgusting smiles. The wannabes then fell down altogether, convulsing, and stopped moving. Amen? Or rather, just who the hell is the president? You won't tell me since it's her privacy? No, didn't you stalk some dudes for several days? Didn't you invade a dude privacy quite deep? And, well, while the wannabes were out, the geeks applied seals to the two that had problematic skills. It seems that the identity of the one that used seal is a secret, even from the president. After all, when they learned who did that, they will surely come after him. Then, tying up the unmoving wannabes, they dragged him back to camp, and in front of everyone revealed their harem creation plan involving puppetry and charm. And while trembling in fear in front of the female students, who became completely enraged after hearing all of that, the wannabes pleaded with the geeks to release the seals. Of course, the idea wasn't received all that well, so the place erupted into a chorus of criticism. Of course, the boys, who wannabes said would be made into slaves, also rode that big wave of criticism. Wannabes trembled as the place seethed with anger. Shouting insults, everyone unanimously agreed to banish the wannabes from the base. Luckily, geeks even managed to hear the line, "Remember this?" in real life. How envious. And with this, the matter was finally resolved. As if. On the night of that day, during their breaks from patrolling, the 4 geeks were taking naps and having a discussion in their tent. The first one who noticed something was the shinobi, the tent surrounded from a distance by 6 people. Since the mage had detection barrier in place, it would have immediately given response if those were monsters. Since it didn't, those were humans. There was no way they could pass through the traps and fences without getting caught, so someone from the patrol let them pass? What for? "Shitty geeks, come out. And don't you dare bring the damn weapons. Move your asses faster. Shouts came from the outside, and the tent was set on fire. As the four jumped outside, the Guardian erected a barrier of magic, and came at them. While the Saint enhanced the barrier with light magic, enduring the attack, the Shinobi uses flash ninjutsu, which he prepared in the meantime, blinding the enemies, and the Mage rapidly shot air bullets to suppress the enemies, the exact combination that they had discussed in the tent. Even so, being ambushed and surrounded put them at the disadvantage. On top of that, while the geeks were trying to fight them off with weak spells like air bullets or water whip, the other side was coming with fireballs and destructive blasts, clearly set on killing them. It wasn't going well. Everyone just looked without trying to help them out. The barrier won't last for long. Do they have no other choice but to fight seriously to the death against other humans? The geeks couldn't make that decision. Then, the group with the president finally came back from patrol and began providing them with covering fire. As the attackers tried to flee, no one made an attempt to stop them. Next time we'll freaking kill you! Next time for sure! Yelling so, they ran away. By the time the president came back, the base was burned, and with many injuries by the fire and stray projectiles, and the emergency food storage had been set on fire as well. As for the boys that were on guard, they were apparently told that, "We only came to talk, don't get in our way," and threatened. They just let them pass. Knowing that they were going to be targeted from now on, the geeks couldn't split up and take any independent action anymore. Rebuilding the base, defending it, finding food, and caring for their own protection. And considering that now they couldn't even sleep without someone being on guard, they basically couldn't do a thing anymore. Anyway, while being injured themselves, they put out the fires, healed the wounded, rummaged through the wreckage for usable tents, and reinstalled them, all while getting blamed by everyone around. It's your fault. It's because you got into a fight with them. Take responsibility. Though they are healing their wounds, they would get kicked, told that, to begin with, it was their fault. Putting out the fires, they would have stones thrown at them, shouted at questions how they were going to fix this mess. Putting up tents as they would get hit, told that this was all because they got too cocky. Standing on guard, they would get insulted and spit on behind their backs. No allies. Thus, the geeks had only two options: to run away or to kill. Protecting themselves 24 hours a day with just 4 of them is difficult, and sticking to only repelling attacks, they are bound to eventually get killed. If they split their duties as they did in the past, they would surely get aimed at when they're alone. Staying here would only mean that they would get killed one by one, either kill or run away from here. The president desperately tried to persuade others, as well as explaining to them the demerits of losing the geeks. Let's protect the geeks and at least try to rotate some food provision duties, so we won't have to rely on them for all of that. They will have to try to fight those guys as well as monsters. For that, raising their levels is necessary. She told them that what would happen if the geeks die in the current situation. Things can't go on like they did in the past. To survive in the world, they have to cooperate and seek knowledge. And yet it seems that nothing has changed. They are probably under the impression that everything is just like it was at school, treating the geeks like convenient gophers, taking out their anger on them. Scared of fighting, opposed to killing, and even more opposed to getting injured or killed themselves. The geeks that were made light of at school would listen, if one makes their tone firm enough. The powers of numbers are on our side, that's probably what they thought. At the very least, they could ask the geeks or attempt to negotiate with them, but they couldn't. If they did, if they pleaded, if they implored, the geeks would have at least provided a compromise plan, but there is no way they could do that. Their pride would not allow them. Then, go ahead and survive with that pride, that's all there is to it. And so the geeks ran away, just the 4 of them, chased by the pseudo-delinquents and the students they helped alike. It was lunch by the time that heavy story was over. Of course, mushrooms, during which we discussed what happened on the White Room. Other than that, we also exchanged various information. I also learned concealment, since they said it wouldn't take much time, and in exchange I gave them juice. When I told them that the only martial art remaining was cane arts, they told me about a famous style of Shinto Muso Ryu, for which I thanked them with a stuffed bag filled with mushrooms. Translator's note: pretty ancient, coming from the Edo period. Traditional school mostly known for its practice of using the short staff. Technical purpose is defeating swordsmen by using a short staff. For that purpose, or just to make the style stronger, the school also teaches several other arts, including swordsmanship. And we kept talking until the next morning. When was it the last time I talked so much? For more than 1 or 2 months, so loner level 2 has nothing to do with this. It seemed that going to bed immediately after eating might turn you into a cow, but since they are geeks anyway, it doesn't matter. Class change from a geek to a cow. It could be called even an upgrade. Feeding them mushrooms for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it wouldn't even be an exaggeration to say I raised these cows. Great, beef secured. After bathing, the geeks seemed to be done with the traveling preparations. The only thing left was to sleep. So we thought about heading to the city. Want to go with us? Recruitment, huh? Is this perhaps a sect? Sorry, I'm not religious. I reply, averting my eyes. A perfect answer. No, we aren't trying to convert you. They are persistent. No, thank you. We don't have a TV. How about this? Final answer. We are not from NHK, or rather, if you had a TV in another world, that would have been scary in its own way. Translator's note, Japan has the same license situation as England, with their national broadcast company being called NHK instead. What? This didn't work as well? Well, since they are seriously inviting me, teasing them too much would be rude. To be serious, becoming an adventurer is impossible with my skills. Thanks for the invite, but I'll be spending my retirement here at leisure. With my cursed status, I'll only get in the way. On the other hand, I have no option of stopping them as well. They are obviously itching to go to town. Did they already forget that their lives are being targeted? I thought about becoming an adventurer in a city. It's a staple of isekai stories, after all. However, in a city, one would have to pay for lodging and food. To earn that pay, one would need the ability to fight with strong monsters. Here, staying in the cave is free, food can be procured on the spot, and with nothing but weak goblins around, it's safe. Though it comes in exchange for quality of life, but isn't it safer in the forest? I also don't know the crime situation in town. Since I'm an outsider, it's all the more important to me. Coming to another world and not becoming an adventurer? What are you even talking about? You should just come with us. There's strength in numbers, Aniki. Translator's note, a Japanese honorable term for an older brother or a superior. You will do fine as an adventurer. The town will surely even have weapons with skills. The town has a lot of young girls. Who the hell is Aniki? These geeks are being pretty forceful, but I'm different from you guys. You guys with cheats. What's so bad about it being a hikikomori, neat and loner? Well, it is the worst, but even so. And young girls? You're only 16. Why are you talking like a middle-aged man? No, wait, just how young exactly are these girls that he's talking about? Should I report him to the police? No, not happening. All my skills are crap, and on top of that, my titles would get in the way. With earth magic alone. I can actually use fire magic as well, but that is a secret. That's not true at all. You're already fighting strong monsters in this area. Being an otherworlder is alone enough to make you stronger, even with subpar skills if you have level. There is also the option of becoming a lord in a city by creating one through earth magic, then developing it with modern knowledge and technology. Even this stone furnace, if they are on the middle age level out there, you'll be able to create a successful trading company. Since you have cane arts, how about trying a long club? This might even work with a 3-section staff. You can use earth magic to create walls for cover and snipe from behind. Health is also important since we have no hospitals here. This got me thinking, isn't the amount of knowledge Geek Squad Quartet possesses incredible? Without them, a crowd of 42 people in the forest, surrounded by monsters on top of that, consisting of ordinary high school students, probably would have been annihilated. Even though they went through such experience at school, they still gathered food for 42 people, distributing it, and teaching everyone about skills. Aren't they pretty good guys? Towns usually built along the rivers, so if we go downstream eventually... Elven Town, deep in the forest. No, beastmen in the forest. Observing from a high place to make a map. Just listening to them is quite educational? No, there must be slaves, preferably cute girls. There are probably noble ladies, attacked by bandits waiting for our rescue. Is touching yes or no? That is the problem. Speaking of inns poster girls. Blah, 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 yada, yada. No, beast ears is the way to go, fluffy and soft to the touch. Edo elves are surely waiting while being attacked by tentacles. Dwarven girls are certainly very tiny. I won't accept anything other than highly prideful women knights disgraced by defeat. Oh, I've had enough. Let's kick them out. 8th day, over.